So this is part 2 of the 2nd of September because I just got in the car and it cut off my initial recording. So this is just the second part of that. And I was just talking about the awkwardness, really, of that moment where I had to stop Fabian and say, no, a research aim is not to produce a prototype. Because in that, you can't say that's an aim of the research. That's not what that's an end goal or an outcome which you might envisage, but it is not a research aim. It's something that may eventuate, if you discover through your research that that's what's required, but that might not be required. And by tightening the parameters of what your research is going to do to a specific fixed end result, you're actually circumscribing the whole research process, and it's going to affect your openness to your research. So it's not a research aim. Producing a prototype when you've got a very open research question is not a research aim. That is not what you're trying to achieve with your research. And I felt really awkward about it because I had to stop him there because I didn't want the students to get the wrong message. But at the same time, I felt really, really awkward about interrupting him and contradicting him in the classroom. And I don't think it's that bad because that's just what happens when you're co-teaching, and it's okay, it's okay to be fallible, and it's okay to be not right about everything or for someone to disagree with you. And I actually think it's a bit of a teachable moment, so to speak, because it does just show that everyone has to, you have to be open to other people's opinions. But I did think it was important to intervene at that point and not kind of let the students think that, because it is not. That is not a research aim to sort of fix yourself to a very, very specific end outcome. Because the research aim is a guide for your methodology. So you can't preempt that by saying what end product you're going to produce, unless you're very, very much further along in your research process and you've already gone through various iterations or cycles of research on a narrower and narrower area up to the point where you can say, okay, now we know what's causing the problem. We know what the key factors are in improving it. We've done a lot of stakeholder research. We know what the customer or the consumer's needs are. And now we're down to the point where we've analyzed what that they do need, say, a technological solution that might be an app. And now that we've gone down that many cycles of research, and we found out that that we need a new app, that is the most appropriate thing, then we can have a new research aim to inform as you go through successive rounds of research and diverging and converging. Well, at that point you can say, okay, the aim is that what we're trying to achieve is a viable prototype for a new app that does X, Y, and Z. But you can't say that until you've gone through that many cycles of research. And these students in ICPU, they're only at the beginning. So just as we don't want to build in any assumptions in the problem statement, we also don't want to build in any assumptions in the research aim. The research aim is what the research will, or the theme or the purpose of the research is to find out, to investigate, to explore, blah, blah, blah. And then the research objectives flow from that research aim, and they're really what you need what you really need to find out in order to achieve your research aim or to address the purpose of the study. So one of the objectives might be, one of the final objectives might be to propose some recommendations to Westpac on a more effective online or digital interface for users or something like that. But the main objectives are really what you're trying to find out. So to find out what the barriers are for a certain thing, or to find out how consumers understand a certain technology, or what is the consumer's perception of risk around a certain technology, and that sort of stuff. You're not even down to the consideration of what, a prototype for something. So, I don't know, it was a very, very kind of awkward moment, and I probably didn't do it that well, and I just don't know how I could have done it better. I just really don't know what would have been a better way to do that. I mean, I had a problem with Fabian's like last week with his project management presentation. I thought there were parts of that actually weren't appropriate, but in the end, he was running that session. We had a discussion. He'd incorporated some changes, but he wasn't going to change other bits, and I just did not butt in. And I think that's one of the challenges with this co-teaching model in ICTU, where it's not just a question of this person's coming in and they're just going to do content delivery on this particular topic, because it's a very dynamic situation, and it can be very difficult to sort of maintain a consistent angle from both supervisors when there are kind of these differences of understanding. And Fabian and I had a talk about it afterwards, and I think it is just a terminological difference, that what you call an aim and what you call an objective and what you call a goal, but it's really about the underlying structure, and I hope I got that across. But I don't know. That's where, again, with Lizzie's class, I'm not going to I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether I should have let it go, or I couldn't let it go because it's actually a really, really key point in my view. Like, say, in Lizzie's classes, I made my suggestions to her about the fact that I thought she was focusing too much on, there were too many slides, there was too much detail. She ran with it in the end. It's not, I wasn't going to stand up and contradict her in that case, but I think this is a bit different because it was a genuine, like, misunderstanding. But I think Fabian thought, oh, I better add to this because I don't think it's quite right. And maybe that's where, if you're in a co-teaching situation, you shouldn't raise a different way of explaining something if another person's leading it, because it's okay to add comments or embellish a line of thinking that it has been initiated by the other person, or to help students understand the concept the way it's being explained. But I'm not sure if it's particularly useful to say something that kind of takes the discussion in a different direction, because because it's just like it puts me in a situation where I kind of have to correct that. I don't want the students to think that